If you are selling goods within the border of the United States and you refuse to take Federal Reserve notes as currency, it's actually illegal. Basically, in this country, you're forced to take money you may or may not want for goods or services you're offering. Which means that if I want to sell food and I run a store and you come into my store, I'm legally obligated to sell you my food for Federal Reserve notes. So this law pretty much guarantees that no matter how high inflation rises, no matter how worthless the dollar becomes, that merchants will always be forced to accept it as currency. Unless, of course, the government overrides this law, which won't happen. There are currently small towns and cities across America that are printing their own currencies and using their own currencies in trade. There was a person a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, who was creating gold coins in the image of Ron Paul, and they were selling these gold coins for Federal Reserve notes, and their place of business was raided and all their gold confiscated. By the way, it is not illegal to barter for things in different currencies or in trade. But it is illegal to decline a offer of Federal Reserve notes if you're trying to sell ordinary items such as milk or eggs. If you're running a store, if you privately own property and you privately own things, and it's not for the public, then I don't know the laws pertaining to people coming to your property to purchase goods. If you're offering goods for sale and you're not registered as a business, I'm not sure of the legal standpoint there. If you're legally obligated to accept money for your goods. But it does become quite confusing, because if I own the goods and I decide I don't want to sell them for Federal Reserve notes, what if I just decide I don't want to sell them at all? But since I own a store where the goods are located, am I obligated by the law to sell the goods if I change my mind? That's one of the things that confuses me about forcing people to use a government-controlled currency. If I don't want your currency, if I don't want your dollar bills, I want gold or physical silver, I shouldn't be forced as an American citizen to take your money, your currency. I think that's a basic infringement on freedom in a free country, is forcing people to take your money. However, I do believe that it may be a good thing in time of crisis, because like in the 20s, 29 to 40s, inflationary problems existed due to the crashing of the stock market, and also the the right of the dollar bill to be produced by private bankers, which then inflated the currency at their own will without any say from the Congress. The Federal Reserve of 1913 caused the financial breakdown in the 20s, as it's causing the financial breakdown now. Plenty of people agree that when you have a currency that has no backing, no redeemable features for something tangible other than the paper it's printed on, then you're just setting yourself up for disaster. But I have another viewpoint. I believe that a government that controls currency should be allowed to secretly print currency, transfer currency, or create digital currency without the Congress or the Senate approval. What I mean is, in times of emergency, the president or people in control should be able to allocate money to places secretly for the purpose of research or the purpose of defense without any auditing. Because if you audit this type of printing, you could skyrocket inflation, which would cause panic in the global markets and also cause people who worked for their money to lose value on their currency that they worked for. So what I'm saying is, I agree with certain covert type things where, for instance, if I need $10 billion to fund a secret project, then I'm going to create $10 billion and it's going to be in complete secret, and no one will know where the money came from, and no one will be accountable for the money. And when that money becomes circulated, the rich will most likely end up with the majority of that $10 billion. And it's the duty of these rich people to keep that $10 billion out of circulation for a period of 5 to 10 years. The money should be held in a bond, a government bond, but it has to be done in secrecy with these people. I mean, there are billionaires in the world, there are billionaires in this country, and they're very powerful people. They work with the government all the time. If these billionaires were to buy those bonds or the debt from government secret projects, I don't see anything wrong with that. I really don't. As long as money stays valuable and inflation is under control, I don't see anything wrong with secretly doing things to better the world. For instance, infrastructure, or purchasing resources with your money, your black ops money, such as steel or oil, things that are to benefit us as a country. I think that's basically what we're doing already. And what's going to happen is that if places like China or places like Japan try to sell the bonds we've sold them, or our debt, that there's going to be an issue with our currency. But I think the issue will be remedied by the temporary switch back to the gold standard, or could be remedied by the initiation of a global currency between civilized countries in Europe and North America. where the the concerns of American, European citizens come before the concerns of Chinese or Russian or any other citizen. What I'm basically saying is there's a limited amount of resources in the world, and these resources need to be allocated to the appropriate places in order to innovate new technologies that will encompass worldwide efforts to save the planet, to create utopia in society, such as free energy, unlimited food, living forever through bioengineering and genetic engineering. Things that cannot be done if the resources required to do these things aren't in the necessary locations. And the necessary locations are America and Europe. We've always led the world in innovation. The best scientists in the world have always been from Germany, from Israel, from America, from England. We, genetically speaking, and educationally speaking, we're the civilized world. There's a reason why Rome, 2,000 years ago, had beautiful structures and architecture. And there's a reason why Africa today has mud huts. And it isn't because one race is superior to the other. It's just the way our civilization evolved in these certain geographic areas encouraged the need for innovative changes. Now, you can say that yes, certain races of people have produced geniuses. Einstein, Da Vinci, and you can compare these people to other geniuses such as Plato or Aristotle, Socrates. You can compare them to these people, and yes, they may share a similar skin color. There may be a genetic predisposition for certain races to exceed at certain things, such as African Americans have predominantly taken over sports, such as track and field, basketball and football. Whites have taken over, physics and sciences that involve mathematical calculation and the formulation of theories. And Asians have taken over production. But it doesn't mean that, just because you're black, you can't be a particle physicist, or just because you're Asian, you can't be a track star. But from a genetic, mathematical standpoint, the odds of a black man or an Asian man becoming an Asian man becoming a track star that becomes a world champion are fewer than that of a black man becoming a track star. It's just a genetic thing. It's the races of this world are genetically capable for certain things. They're more. I mean, this is something we're not allowed to talk about in with political correctness and all. Is one of those things that everyone is equal. Well, unfortunately, everyone isn't equal. There are people that are born retarded. There are people that are born blind. Unfortunately, everyone isn't equal, and race has a lot to do with it. If you look at our DNA, we are different than each other. However so slightly,